Hey, what's up? Welcome back to CSS3 at 30 days. Today, we are going to be doing something really fun, and that is creating a Pacman animation. We're going to make a little Pacman chasing the Blinky ghost across the screen, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, what is Pacman? If you don't know what Pacman is, then Google it. I don't know anyone who doesn't know what Pacman is. Pacman is a classic arcade game. It's timeless. It's a little yellow chomping ball that eats little pebbles along this maze, and there's ghosts chasing him, and when he gets a special pebble, he gets to chase the ghosts and eat the ghosts and get bonus points. Really fun, simple little game, and we're just going to create a nice, simple animation of Pacman moving along a path chasing the ghost. So check this out in my browser, and I'm going to show you what we're making. Check it out right here. Here it is. Now, there are a number of things going on here. All of this entire thing is CSS. Just CSS. There's no JavaScript, nothing like that. It's purely CSS animations in CSS3. And that's what's exciting about it. So let's check out what's going on here. We have the path in the background with these little pebbles. It's very simple. It looks like he's eating them. We also have a circle here, and that circle is chomping and moving as well. So a couple things there. Then we have this ghost, Blinky. What Blinky is doing is quite literally blinking colors. So he's moving along the timeline as well, along the path, and he's blinking colors in and out from red to hot pink. And he also has big googly eyes, and his pupils are moving back and forth. So he's got a number of things going on. I haven't seen a CSS tutorial online yet, other than this one, where they code the ghost as well. I've only seen CSS Pacman animations in varying degrees, in different examples, but I haven't seen one with the ghost. So I wanted to throw the ghost in here because it's kind of exciting. All right, so let's get coding. Let's make our Pacman, and let's make our ghosts, and let's animate them right now. So jump over here in your code editor, download 17 Pacman. You got the 3 files there. Again, give you a moment to download those files and come right back here. And then I'm going to show you what's going on here. So we've got our index file with some markup, and I'm going to show you what's going on in terms of the HTML. This is what the HTML looks like for the Pacman. We have a div with the class of path, wraps everything. That is the container, which is simply that black path right here with the dots inside. Then we have div with the class of Pacman. That is Pacman. That's it for Pacman. Then we have a div with the class of ghost, which wraps a div with the class of eyes, and a div with the class of skirt. So the eyes are the eyes and the pupils. The skirt is the bottom of the ghost, those triangles that look like a skirt. So, and that's it for the markup. You don't have to code it because it's already there. This isn't an HTML course, it's a CSS course, but just to show you how simple the HTML is, and all the magic happens in CSS. Jump into your sandbox. Okay, so let's get started. Let's jump in and say we're going to start with path. And that path is going to be a position of relative, a width of 100%, a height of 100 pixels, a background of 333, but whatever color you want it to be works as well. Padding 20 pixels all around. Box sizing, I want to be border box because I want it to be a fixed 100 pixel height. If I don't declare border box, I'm going to have a 140 pixel height element because the padding adds to that height. So I want it to be border box to keep that padding within it. So the element is 100 pixels height max. Overflow hidden. Very important because when Blinky and Pacman go off the screen out of the element, I want them to disappear, not slide outside and be visible. It'd be kind of odd. It would look like a little glitch. So that's it for the path. Save that. Check it out here in the browser. It's just going to be a big, long, like a dark gray rectangle. All right, jump back in here. I'm just going to tab in one and say path, virtual element after, content, empty string, position, relative, position absolute. Okay, display block, border top, 12 pixels dotted white. What we're making here are those little pebbles along the middle of the path. Now, if I say width 90%, I have to give it a width because of the condition that it's in. It's an after virtual element that you cannot see until you give a width and or a height. So we got the width and the height is the 12 pixels of the top border. So simply I'm creating an element that is just a top border. The width is 90%. If we save that and check it out here in the browser, we've got it right here. We've got our 12 pixel dotted border. We've got our 20 pixel padding on the left and the top, as you can see very clearly. The problem is that this is not centered within the path vertically or horizontally. So let's deal with that right now over here in the code editor. Simply going to say top 50%. That's going to push it down 50% of the height of that parent element, and left 5% because we are 90% width. If we want to fill a 100% width, if we push it over 5%, there's also 5% on the other side. So now we're perfectly centered. In terms of the top 50%, we're going to have a little problem. Save that, check it out. It's perfectly centered horizontally, but we've got too much space on the top. That's because it's going 50% down from the top of this element. So this actually here to here is exactly 50%. But I want it to be 50% from the center of these dots. It's because those dots are 12 pixels in height. Half of that, if we bring it up half of those pixels, it's going to be perfectly centered. So margin top, -6 pixels. Save that. Bam, now we are perfectly centered both vertically and horizontally. All right, now let's get down to the fun stuff. Let's create Pacman. There's Pacman. We're going to say position absolute. Z-index 99, so he's always on top of everything. Top 50%, we want him down 50% from the top of the path. And now, that's it for now. Now, you're not going to see Pacman because he is simply just a position, a Z-index, and a top value. There's nothing showing us visually that it's Pacman. Where that's going to come into play is the before and after virtual elements. So let's go down and style those up. We're going to say Pacman before and Pacman after. In here, we're going to give him content of an empty string, display block, and we're going to say height 0, width 0. And this is weird. Why are we doing this? Well, we're actually going to create Pacman out of a border, not actually out of creating a background color. Okay, so we're going to say position absolute. And then we're going to go border solid 30 pixels yellow. Save that, check it out in the browser. It's going to give us a yellow square. And that's because we have a 60 by 60 element because there's a border top, there's a border left, there's a border bottom, and there's a border right of 30 pixels. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove certain sides of the border in order to give us the illusion or to make it look like we have half circles. Now, what do I mean by half circles? I'm styling both before and after with these identical styles. So there are two elements on top of each other. If I move one over, say Pacman after, and I give him margin left of like 65 pixels, save that, check it out in the browser. I moved him over just enough so you can see there's two. And so now we're going to leave it like that for now and then style it up so you can see what they both look like. Let's go back here to before and after. And let's say margin top, I want it to be -30 pixels. So he's centered in that path. Border radius, 100% should do the trick, or 50%. 50% is fine. Should give us a perfect circle. If I save that and check it out in the browser, we got two perfect circles sitting in the middle of the path. Now, let's remove some sides of the border. Border right color. Transparent. Save that. Check it out. So I removed the right border of the four sides, and now it actually looks like Pacman. We're not going to stop there because we actually want two parts to this Pacman, a top part and a bottom part. And we're going to make those chomp together. In this manner, I don't really know if I were just to have one chunk out of one side of a circle, I don't really know how to connect those in an animation. But what we can do is create two of these elements and animate them individually so it looks like there's a chomping animation. This method specifically, I'm going to give credit to Travis Nielsen of DevTips in his CSS animations tutorials on YouTube. Check him out. He created a Pacman loader and he did basically Pacman. He called him a chomper or chomp, and he used the before and after virtual elements and animated those individually. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This specific part is inspired by Travis, so thank you for that. The rest of it, however, is a mishmash of me just jamming and trying to figure out how to make this work. So let's show you what's going on. Border right color. We're also going to say border bottom color is transparent. Now watch what happens. Save that, check it out. Bam, now we got two half circles because we cut out two parts of the border. But now what we're going to do is make the after virtual element have kind of an inverted version of that so that you'll see what I mean. So let's give the after pseudo element the border color of yellow to reset it back to a circle. There it is. Now what we're going to do is say border right color is transparent and the border top color is transparent as well. If I save that and check it out, now we got the other side. Now, this will make a lot more sense if I remove this margin left of Pacman after, and now they're connected and they look like a Pacman. All we have to do now is animate those two separately to rotate a certain amount of degrees on both sides so it looks like a chomper. Let's do that right now. So simply go up to the Pacman before after, and we're going to give it an animation. So animation, we're going to name it mouth top. We're going to do it over 0.7 seconds. Ease infinitely. Infinite. Save that. It's not going to work until we define a keyframe. So go to the bottom and add your keyframes at the bottom of your style sheet. That's usually a good place to do it. Keyframes, this one's called mouth top. And now it's just simply playing with timelines. So we're going to say at the 50% point of the timeline, so this goes from 0 to 100%. You can also define it based on seconds, I believe. But anyway, we got 50% way through the animation. We are going to say transform. This is just CSS. Rotate. I'm going to say 44 degrees. Specifically chose that number for a reason. I'll show you why. Save that, refresh in your browser. Now it's all rotating 44 degrees. But I want the bottom mouth to rotate negative 44 degrees, so that one goes up rather than down as well. So simply all we have to do is, well, while we're down here in the keyframes, let's define another keyframe. Copy this one, in fact, save you some typing, paste it, call it mouth bottom, rotate it negative 44 degrees, scroll up to your before and after, copy this style right here, paste it in the after pseudo element style, and change the name to mouth bottom. Same exact animation, just inverted. Save it, check it out in the browser. Bam, just like that. Chomping perfectly. Now, why did I choose 44? Well, let me show you what happens when I do 46 degrees. Look at the back end, the rear end of Pacman. There's a little bit of a, line that appears there, and that's not okay. 45 degrees shows the same hairline, just a little smaller. 44 degrees was the perfect number where I found no line at all, where the mouth closed the most. Okay, now all we have to do is move him. So let's create another keyframe here, and let's call it keyframes move forward. And I'm just going to say at 0% of the animation, I want Pacman to be negative 20% position. I'll show you why in a moment. And at 100%, I want him to be at left 100%. So that the left side of Pacman is going to be 100%. So he's going to be off of the screen. So if I save this and move up to Pacman, give this an animation of animation, we called it move forward, 5 seconds, linear and infinite. Save that, check it out in the browser, watch what happens. See how he's coming out from off of the screen on the left side and then disappears on the right? That's exactly what we want. Let me show you in that keyframe what happens if the left is actually 0%, what you might think. His left side of the element starts right here. So he goes off screen, but then just appears out of nowhere, and it's not smooth. But if we have it left negative 20%, where we know he's off the screen, That's going to solve the problem. He slides out. So he goes off the screen like that, comes back out gently. I like it. You might even sample 10% and see what happens there if you wanted. You could play around with the number. Maybe that looks a bit more like he's half off there and half coming out. That works too. So that's it for move forward. Now that's it for Pacman actually. So we made a Pacman animation. I could have left it here, but I thought, nah, I want to make a ghost and I want to make that ghost run. So let's do that. And now we're going to start styling up this ghost. Okay. So now we're going to say ghosts. Should have just called him Boo. Ghost. Position, absolute. Z-index 99, so he's on top of the screen as well. Top 50%, left 20%. I'm doing that because I want him in front of Pacman. Show you in a bit here. Margin top, we're going to bring him up negative 35 pixels because I want the height to be 70 pixels in height and the width to be 60 pixels in width. So margin top is half of 70 so that it's perfectly aligned vertically in the center. If I save that and go back here, you actually won't see anything because we haven't given him any colors. So let's go back to the ghost here again. Let's go background red. Make him red. Save that. Now check it out in your browser. So we've got a rectangle, a red rectangle. So now we just need to shape him out. So let's say the border top left radius is 70 pixels and the border top right radius is 70 pixels. Watch what happens. Just the top rounds out. The top left, the top right. That looks nice. And now let's start shaping him out a little bit more. He needs to have that skirt and the eyes. So let's use as minimal amount of markup as possible. And let's say ghost before. Now what we're going to do is say ghost before and then ghost after. And now we're going to use the ghost before and after for the googly eyes, the white part of his eyes or her eyes. Content, empty string, position, absolute, background, white, height, 25 pixels, and width, 20 pixels. I want them to be not a perfect circle. I want them to be like long, like a long eyeball. Border radius, we're going to make that 100%. Perfectly round. Rounded edges all over the place. Save it. Let's check it out. See what happened here. So we have the right shape. I think that's a shape I want. Both of them are right there. They're stacked on top of one another. So we're going to have to move that. So go back here in your code editor and let's simply say top 15 pixels from the top and then left. We're going to go 4 pixels from the left. Now, really, I'm just styling. This is where I want the before eye to be. I want the after eye to be over a bit. So simply go down here. We're going to declare a ghost after pseudo elements, virtual element. You know what I mean? And we're just going to say left 28 pixels. That's the only thing we need to change. Save that. Check it out. We've got our 2 white eyes starting to come together. That looks pretty cool. All right. Now, let's style those eyes. So I have an element called eyes in the markup, but I want to use the before and after virtual elements as well. So we're going to go eyes before and eyes after. Okay, now again, as usual, content, empty string, so it can be visible on the screen. Position absolute, so we can move it around wherever we want it outside of the flow of the document. Background, blue, we want blue eyes. Height 10 pixels. So these are the pupils. I probably could have called these pupils, but oh well. Width 10 pixels. Border radius 100%. That's border radius 100%. And save that. Let's see what's happening. Okay, so there's our little blue eye up there. We need to move it down and over a bit. So back here, top 25 pixels and left 5 pixels. Save that. There it is. Looks good. I don't think I need to do anything else with that one. Now I just need to move the second eye, the after virtual element, over. So I'm going to say eyes after, and left is going to be 30 pixels, and that will move him over to the right spot, I believe. Save that, refresh. I don't see it. I think this is a z-index problem. Go back here, and both of them, I'm going to say z-index 99 again. Save that. Bam, there it is. It was just hidden behind the eye. You couldn't see it. So I needed to move that pupil forward using z-index. That was important. Okay. Now we have one more thing to do here with the look of this little blinky. Is the skirt is what I called it. So let's go down another style here. Whoops, not there. Let's do it after the eyes. And let's go skirt. Position. Whoops. Let's go position. Absolute. Height 0. Width 0. Border solid 10 pixels. 333. Doing this because I'm using borders for this. And let's save that and see what it is. So there we go. We have a 10 pixel border that is 333. The color of the background. So it's going to look like it's see-through. It's going to look like we're creating those triangles. So we have a square. In order to create a triangle out of a border, we need to remove one of the sides so that you can see through it to see the red. So watch this. We're going to go border, top, color, transparent. And save that. So, okay, now you can't really see anything there. We're going to move it down to the bottom. We're going to say bottom negative 10 pixels. Let's go bottom 0 to see where it is. There it is, but we want him to be down more, so negative 10 pixels is the height of that element. That should do the trick. So there we go. So we got one there, but now we need to do a couple more. So you can see how this is working. As Pacman passes through him, you can actually see where it is. Okay. So now what we need to do is simply style. So we styled skirt with that style, but now we're going to style the before and after virtual elements as well. Before and skirt after. And now what we're going to do is, again, content, position at absolute, height 0, width 0. Border is going to be solid 10 pixels, 333. Come to think of it, I could have just styled this in a much more efficient manner. Why don't I go like this? I'm going to copy that. I'm going to remove all these styles for now. I'm going to paste this right there. So all those have that style. And I'm going to move these slightly in a sec. So save that. Check it out in the browser. Okay, so you can't see them there because they're all stacked on top of one another. So now all we got to do is style each of these individually. So I'm going to split these out. Okay, so now we're going to say before is going to have a left position of 10 pixels. It's going to move it over 10 pixels. And then the after is going to be moved over left 30 pixels. Save it. Let's check it out. Okay, you don't see it because these actually have to have, these are virtual elements, so they have to have a content. So simply all we're going to do here is content, empty string, copy that. After this is going to have content, empty string, save that. Bam, there it is, just like that. So now we have the three little skirt frills that make up this ghost. So now this ghost looks done. So now all we got to do is move the ghost, Google his eyes, and flash his color. We already created the move animation, so let's just move him. So let's see what happens if we go back up to the ghost right here. And wait, here it is. And let's give him the animation of move forward, 5 seconds, linear, infinite. Save that, and let's see what happens. Okay, he's moving, but where's Pacman? Pacman is hiding directly behind him. So that's a problem. We need to separate them. So what I'm going to do is just simply delay how long Pacman takes until he starts his animation. You don't have to do anything really extra. You just go up to Pacman, and let me see here. Animation. Let's just have another line here called animation delay. I'm going to delay him 0.8 seconds. You can delay him however long you want, and it will space him out from the ghost. Watch this. Okay. Do you see what just happened? Now they're spaced apart, but when I refreshed, look where Pacman was. He was just sitting there, and then he disappeared off the screen, negative 20%, and then started his animation. That looks bad. So all we have to do is move Pacman by default 20% left off the screen. So he's just going to be left negative 20%. Save that. Now when he's waiting for his animation, he's going to be off the screen, and then he's going to come out. So now, perfect. So now if I delay this longer, like say 2 seconds, these are going to be spaced apart a lot more. Like that. And now it looks like the ghost is chasing him. I mean, maybe that's fun. Maybe that's a cool way of doing it. Maybe you want to delay it like 2.5 seconds. See what that looks like. Halfway, he's coming out, and now it looks like the ghost is chasing him. And now like he's chasing the ghost. Whatever you want to do works totally fine. I'm going to leave mine with something like maybe 1 second for now. Okay, now the ghost needs to, let's make him flash. Let's make him blink. Blinky. All right, let's scroll down to the ghost. We're going to create an animation called color swap or blink. Maybe you want to call it blink, whatever works for you. So let's go back to the ghost and let's give him an animation. So we did move forward, but we're actually going to do another one. You can do a comma and add another animation very easily, just like this. So we're going to say, you could say color swap like this. You can call it blink. You know, blink is kind of a fun one. Blinky. Sure, let's call it that. And we're going to say 0.5 seconds is how long it will take. Linear is the arc, and infinite, we're going to have it happen forever. So save that. We need to actually create that animation now called Blinky. So go down, create a keyframe, call it Blinky. And all we're going to do for Blinky, for swapping the color, is halfway through the animation timeline, change the background to hot pink. Halfway through, it's going to swap to hot pink and then swap back to its other color. So save that, check it out. So now he's blinking. And you could change that color to whatever you want. You can change it to, I don't know, like 333. I don't know what's going to happen. Looks like he kind of like disappears into the background, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. And maybe if I sped up the animation time, I don't know, like 0.2 seconds. Let's see what happens. That's something. 0.4 seconds. Let's see. Yeah, I like that one. That looks fun. But you can have whatever color swap you want. And okay, so that's good. Now what we got to do is we got to make his eyes move back and forth. So we got to make those little peepers move left and right. So what we're going to do is go to the ghost's pupils, which are eyes. Okay, and let's go with before and after. And we're going to say animation. We're going to start with peeper left. So the left peeper, 0.7 seconds, linear, infinite again. Okay, and now we have to create an animation called peeper left. And so now if we just started with that, let's go down to the bottom, create a keyframe called keyframes, peeper left. And then what we're going to do with peeper left is at 0%, comma, and 100%. So the left position of that is going to be 5 pixels. And that's because the position of the left eyeball is actually 5 pixels. So I want it to be at its 5 pixel default state and then move over a little bit. So let's move it over peeper left at the 50% mark of the timeline. I want it to move over left. Let's move it over a little bit. So, sorry, not that long. I want it to be 10 pixels over. So if I save that, we've already got that set up, refresh. So now you see how that eyeball is going back and forth, but now the right eyeball is not there. So that's because it's getting the same animation as the left peeper. So we want to separate that and have it have its own animation. So while we're down here, let's copy this and do another keyframe called peeper right. And the left, the 0 and 100% part of the timeline is going to be 30 pixels from the left because that is the default state of the right eyeball. Up here, you can see eye after, left 30 pixels. So we want it to start there, and then move over probably 8 pixels, and then do that. So let's scroll back down to Peeper right. The left position won't be 10%. Save this. Actually, we're going to have to add that style. So copy Peeper left on this one, and the after add Peeper right. Save that and watch what happens right here. So that's super weird unless that's the style you're going for, but obviously it's not what we're going for. So Peeper right, the 50% mark, the left position, make it 38 pixels. So now they're going roughly the same. You can see they're off a little bit. So maybe if I did this 35 pixels, it's going to be the same distance. So they're both going to move exactly the same way. So now they're moving at exactly a uniform speed and distance and pace. They're identical. But if you wanted to give them a little bit more of a googly eye look, you can have it move a little bit, few more pixels. So now they look a little bit, they're a little bit more googly looking. Yeah. Interesting. Up to you however you want to do it. You can even go something like this, like top. I don't know what's going to happen here. What's the top? The top by default for this is 25 pixels. So maybe we move it to 20 pixels. Let's see what happens. So that eyeball is like doing like a woo. It's kind of cool. I'm going to take that out. Okay, save that and really refresh. That's it. So we have our Pacman chomping, moving along the path, going off screen, coming back out from the beginning. We have our Blinky Ghost, all CSS, flashing, moving, and his eyeballs are moving back and forth. And that is really cool. That's really quite something. That's it for today. This was a big lesson, but I really enjoyed making this. So I really wanted to give it the time of day so that you can create something really interesting. Show your friends, show your mom, and they'll really think you're cool that you spent a lot of time on your computer making Pacman. Chomp, chomp, chomp.